think you've got a Gem Mint 10 card? David and I, we thought we did. Think again. And then we sent our cards in for grading. Now, think about it. Sports cards, ripping packs, but it's not just about ripping packs. It's also what's found on the labels of those grades. We're going to get into grading next. Stay tuned. Welcome back, hobbyists, to the Hobby Bro Show, where sports and sports cards collide. I'm Chris. He's David. Today, as we mentioned in the intro, we are diving deep into some grading sports cards. And we're going to be talking about why you want to grade your sports cards, kind of the process of grading your sports cards. And then we'll get into some debates regarding should you grade or should you not grade certain cards. But first, of course, as always, we're going to start with news in the hobby.
What news do you have? Share it.
So a couple episodes ago, we mentioned a heritage auction taking place with a PSA graded 6 Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, dual logo man autographed 1 of 1. Upper Deck Exquisite was the set it came from. And the auction had almost finished when we had recorded the episode we mentioned it on. And recently, the auction had finished. And it was originally, again, set at $6 million. But it finished at $12.9 million.
Wow. Insane.
$3 million more than that Mickey Mantle 1952 Topps that sold for that record of $12.6 million. So this now is the highest selling sports card in an auction. $12.9 million. Amazing. And it was bought by 3 gentlemen who formed a syndicate. They decided to, I know it sounds a little grim, but they decided to form this group so that they wouldn't have to compete against each other, causing the card to just skyrocket even more in price. So they worked together and all were able to buy it for the $12.9 million.
Nice.
One of those gentlemen that was included was from Shark Tank, Mr. Wonderful, Kevin O'Leary. So we'll get into that in a second. But another story has to do with the grading company SGC, their president resigning. This president was very influential in bringing SGC back up towards the top of other grading companies like PSA. And it's shocking news to those in the hobby. They were very, I would say, sad and disappointed that he had resigned. And right now there's a lot of questions about the future of SGC. Employees from SGC are being brought to PSA. My guess is more work for PSA in the future, more cards to grade, and less for SGC so that they can focus more maybe on vintage, which of course they're known for. What do you think, David, about that $12.9 million for that 1 of 1 logo man Kobe Bryant Michael Jordan autograph?
My thoughts are, what a price. Wow. But they interviewed Mr. Wonderful afterwards, CNBC did, and he made some great points about how he did his research. And saw that cards were just skyrocketing in price. And he decided, well, it's a worthy investment. This card will resell in the future for X multiple, whatever number he said, I forget. But he said he wasn't going to sell it in his life, right? He was going to he was going to have his kids inherit it. And yeah, he wasn't going to sell it in his life.
Yes.
So that was a really good point. And I feel that's what cards should be, right? You should want to hold them for the long term. At least that's what I'm kind of getting into is holding it for 10, 20, 30 years, finding that player like a Kobe, like a Michael, although there will never be another Kobe or Michael, that can hold its value over 30 years, right? Even 50 years, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Those legends, those cards that people really, really will want in the future, like the Topps Mickey Mantle or a card like this.
So Kevin O'Leary, to build on to what you said, in that interview, he also mentioned a comparison between these sports cards and works of art, pieces of art, right?
Sure.
And how they appreciate over time as well. So I think that's what initially drew him into the hobby. And I also heard that he has a kind of consultant in the hobby that he goes to for advice about what to invest in, like that.
And he said he was never even going to see the card in person, right? Or even touch it.
Probably not even touch it.
He's not even going to touch the card. It's going to be held in the PSA vault maybe, or...
That's crazy. I just think that's crazy.
I thought it'd be a good idea. It'd be smart to display it somewhere, like in a museum or like a card, house or something. And then and have people come and buy tickets for it to see it, and then you can just make more money off of it.
Kevin O'Leary, you hear that?
I mean, that's what I would do. Like, someone should create a sports card
Museum.
locker museum. Yeah,
Locker.
locker.
I like that idea.
But just, somewhere it's like the Hall of Fame for sports cards, and charge people money and see all these crazy, amazing Holy Grail cards. That's what I would like to do.
Well, what do you think? What do you think in 20 years you could see a card museum?
Yeah, like they have, these to the top of Mickey Mantle, Honus Wagner, Kobe Bryant, one of one, this card too, and other all these Holy Grail cards, just amazing, classic, priceless cards, really.
I could actually see Kevin O'Leary even getting into something like that and establishing some sort of museum or, like you said, a different way, maybe even to display the card.
And that way you can make more money. Charge people $30 to get in.
Now that was a PSA 6, that Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant. But the other news again was kind of the second tier grading company of SGC losing their president. As I mentioned, there's a lot of questions about where SGC goes from here in the grading world. What do they look like? Are they going to have less cards that they're going to grade?
Well, first, let's say that SGC is by far the number 3, probably. Would you say?
I think it's two, threes in that range.
Well,
Yeah.
okay. If you have a vintage card, go like vintage 1950s, 1960s. Go to SGC. Right, that's what they're known for. But if you have a super modern or super modern card, people want the PSA. Yes. Although I'm not saying don't go to SGC, because we went to SGC, right, to experience it. It was a lot cheaper. They had faster turnaround. I actually like the tuxedo look that they have, which is pretty cool. But the problem with SGC for a lot of collectors or people wanting to resell is it just doesn't sell as well as PSA.
No, exactly. And we're going to dive more into that in a little bit here. But to kind of add to that, SGC, when we used it, their service was, I would say, not as fast as it's been known for, but overall it's been known for faster service.
Yeah.
And that is another question that people have. What will service look like? Is it going to be a faster turnaround? Like I imagine they've wanted to this whole time so that they can continue to draw more customers. Or is it going to be less focused on bulk cards coming in and more smaller delivery of cards from dealers, from collectors? I know that hobby shops have had dealer, I don't want to say dealer deals, but specials. There we go. Dealer specials through SGC, and they've had those specials cut now.
Oh, really? Okay.
So they can know. So of course, prices to the customer are going to change. There's not going to be that discount.
Well,
going
that's
through the hobby. So
yeah.
we'll kind of see where SGC goes from here.
Yeah, we'll see. But you were also saying that SGC and PSA are owned by the same company.
Collectors Universe, yes, they are. And I did say that more PSA employees are being hired from SGC, so kind of transferred over. So what does that mean?
Yeah, I don't know. Does PSA's grading standards go down then, you think? Since they have more people? I don't know.
Faster turnaround times, maybe?
Hopefully faster turnaround times.
Well, again, we'll dive deeper into the different grading companies coming up, but I think PSA is one of those that's known for maybe not being the best at getting their cards back to their collectors on by decent amount of time.
I mean, ours took about 6 weeks, was it?
I would say, yeah.
About 6 weeks. And then what, 10 cards? 15?
I think it was 15.
15 cards.
16 cards, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, diving into our topic here of sports cards grading, just to kind of give you some background, okay, some kind of background knowledge on sports cards grading, the numbers, the facts. In the first 6 months, January through July, there were 5 million sports cards that were graded by the various companies.
That's amazing to me, considering I didn't even know there were 5 million cards.
Well,
Sports cards.
Yeah, but you also got to think it could be vintage, it could be
True.
ultra modern.
And you're talking sports, not Pokemon.
Sports.
Okay. Sports. I mean, some people must be sending in some total base cards that are worth $1, thinking they're 10, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, I've seen on eBay, right? I've seen those cards that are just base rookie cards that are graded a 10, and it's like, I don't think you really had to do that.
Well, I mean, yeah, you're probably right. But if it's a Joe Burrow, maybe, or you think he's going to be
Yeah, that's true. They could have graded it before. during that player's rookie year when
Yeah.
the hype was
Yeah. Sure.
up there. Now, just alone in August, there were
Which just ended, by the way.
Yes, just ended. There were 839,000 graded cards
Overall.
overall.
Oh, including PSA, SGC.
SGC back in.
Wow. How did they get these?
How many do you think were out of PSA? I mean, out of that, how many were PSA?
Out of the 839,000,
Yes.
out of them were PSA.
Footage.
So maybe 500,000. That's not a percent. Or maybe it is. Uh,
Well, that's more than 50, right?
yeah, way
You
more
guess
than,
more than 50.
more than 50.
Way more than 50. Yeah, it's close to, I would say, 70%. 661,000 were
Wow.
from PSA.
Well, there you go.
So that kind of tells you the dominant grading
No,
company.
PSA is the dominant grading company. I mean, when I go on eBay, it's mostly PSA. When we go to the card shows, it's mostly PSA. We've seen just today, we're talking to a collector seller. He said he does not like SGC. He was going to crack his SGC.
He's gonna crack the slab.
He's going to crack his slab because he's like, I don't like SGC.
That's funny. That's funny. But again, he did mention though that if you do want to grade a vintage card,
Yeah.
SGC would probably be the one to go with.
Yeah.
But let's dive into that though. Why would you even want to grade your card? Why would you want that slab around your card? Why not just keep it raw, right, in its purest form, pulling it straight from the pack? Number one, and probably the best reason, is for authenticity. As a buyer, you have that sense of trust that that card is authentic, and so you're not getting scammed, that your money is going towards what you want it to.
Well, there was that one time I sent that scam card to PSA and they rated it like it was okay. Just kidding.
Maybe we should stop this episode now. I don't know about that.
But no, authenticity is good.
Yes.
Authenticity,
And
right?
and you know the authenticity by the grading company providing you with that number.
Yeah.
That number is what you can look up. It shows you the card, the grade for that card, and it also shows you something about the population, which we'll get into a little bit later too.
For me, the number one thing for grading is it looks cooler than being just raw, I think, right?
So I think more professional with the card.
Yeah, it says, hey, I took care of this card to make sure that it looks good. Then it's in this slab, either SGC's tuxedo or PSA's white or Beckett. It adds a sense of kind of that this card was well taken care of, right? If it's a 10, if it's a 9.5, depending upon the grading company.
It shows you care. It shows you care about the card.
Yeah, yeah.
Also, and I don't think people, I mean, people realize this, but I don't think it's as important to them, or it should be more important though, is it protects it.
Protects it.
It protects the card, right? UV rays, especially depending on where you have your cards, the humidity,
Yep. Sure.
dropping the card, accidentally getting it stuck in something, right?
Yep.
Physical damage to the card too.
And next point, if or different point is if you're planning to resell it, right, it'll add so much more value if you get it graded, especially if it's a 10.
Exactly. So there's that money behind it, the value.
Yeah, I mean it's gonna add, depending upon the grade, could add tenfold, not tenfold, maybe threefold.
I got some numbers actually.
I like numbers.
So I have some numbers on PSA 9s.
Yep.
Versus raw. Raw meaning
it's not graded.
And then I also have some PSA 9s versus PSA 10s.
I know that stat because I've looked up 9s versus 10s.
Yeah, definitely. So,
which is just an incredible stat.
I'll start with the PSA 9 versus raw. And then we'll jump back to the PSA 9 versus 10 after we dive back into some more about the general grading. But let's take a look at these PSA 9s. John Morant was a very popular rookie in 2019. He's still a popular player now, but let's take his Prism base. PSA 9, $23.
Okay.
Raw?
For $10.
Close. $11.
$11.
Yes. Now, base card compared to a silver, very different. So how about a PSA 9 silver John Morant versus a raw John Morant silver? 43 for the PSA 9. Ungraded raw, 107.
Wow, I thought it would have added more value. Okay.
Now let's take
that's a 9. That's a 9. Out
Yes.
of 10. Out of 10. 9 is not a 10.
Here's vintage, graded vintage, right? This is a card from 1982. Lee Smith, rookie card. PSA 9 versus raw again. PSA 9, $45.50. Raw, $3.89.
Dang. Dang.
So there's that variance first between grading and not grading. Okay.
Yep.
Now let's see here. Comparing the grading companies. PSA, SGC we mentioned, Beck we mentioned. There's a couple others too.
CGC, right?
CGC,
Which we just heard is actually coming up, and they have really, really tough standards.
we did. We did.
We heard that today.
That's not the first time I've heard though that CGC is starting to come up too in the grading world as well. There's a lot of others who are favorite CGC as well now. It's up and coming. Yes. And then there's HGA, and then there's TAG, TAG.
Okay.
Now the last two we'll get into in a minute here, but we want to talk first about PSA, SGC, and Beckett. I think those are
those are the three that we most see for sure.
Because CGC is also for gaming cards,
Comics,
Pokemon comics, that stuff too. PSA does that, SGC, but I know CGC is known for that other stuff. So PSA, as we mentioned many times, seems to be the top dog. Then we would say between Beckett and SGC, you think SGC is a little bit higher than Beckett?
No, I think Beckett's number 2.
Okay, Beckett, I tend to agree with that. And then SGC. Why do you think Beckett is higher than SGC?
Is this a test? I think Beckett is just more. I've just seen Beckett more. I've seen more of Beckett's stuff. It's really cool that they authenticate the autographs, right? Too, don't they?
They do.
Yeah, SGC does too, but I think Beckett is more known for their autograph stuff. Beckett also has they have different styles or different grades for 10s even, right?
Yes, yeah.
They've got.
Wait, hold on. I'm gonna stop you right there.
Oh, stop.
Let's rewind.
Okay, we're rewinding.
We're rewinding here. Let's talk before we get more into each company. Let's talk about what is involved in the grading, like the numbers we've been talking about. Like
it's 1 to 10.
1 to 10, and obviously 10 being the best. However, other companies, like David just mentioned, like Beckett, have different tiers of 10.
Well, and then so PSA does 1 to 8, and then they do an 8.5 too. They also have 8.5. They don't do 9.5. They don't do 9.5. SGC and Beckett do 9.5.
They do, and they do 8.5 as well.
That's true.
But PSA only has 10 as the highest.
Yep.
SGC has 10, but there's also we found out there's another higher level SGC 10 as well.
Yeah, there is.
And then what about Beckett? You mentioned something also about the Beckett.
Beckett has a pristine 10, and then a gem black. There's like a black label 10, right?
Yes, black label 10.
Black label 10, which is pretty cool.
All right, let's see here.
Which I've never seen, I don't think.
Only seen it on probably eBay. I don't even think. No, have we seen it at a card show?
Maybe we have seen it at a card show.
Have. Okay, here we go. SGC has a 10 gem, yes, just like PSA, but it also has a 10 pristine, just like Beckett.
Okay.
So it's also called a pristine.
Pristine, what a word.
I know, that just sounds so like royal, right?
Right. That's my middle name, actually, Pristine.
Oh, I thought you. Yeah, that's
my first name.
Pristine's actually a pretty nice name.
Pristine, no, Prestine.
Okay. Well, excuse me. So those are the grades, 1 to 10. But how do you get the grade? There's different criteria, right? You
gotta earn the grade, man. You gotta earn the grade.
All right. I mean, in a way, you kind of do because you have to work for it, and we'll go over kind of in a way how you can prep your cards so that they're ready for grading and such. But later on. Back to one of the details of why you get the 10, why you get the 9, why you get the 8. It's based on several factors. Centering
is the number one thing, meaning how centered is the image, the words, right? You want it basically to be in the middle.
Yes.
Horizontal and vertical too. I learned this.
And second, edges.
Edges.
Are the edges sharp? Are there any nicked edges?
Yeah.
As in, like, you can see kind of little white. Is there bent corners?
Corners is a huge one.
Corners is a huge one.
That's the one that gets me every time because, and I don't know if we'll talk about this in a future episode, of how to actually send your cards to grade. What happens when you do that, you can really sometimes mess up, at least for me, you can mess up the corner.
Yeah, I agree. And we will talk more about that as we dive even deeper into the grading so that we can give you some tips. Maybe you could do that as the intro for the next episode for our topic again.
Sure.
You could do that again. Edges, corners, surface.
Surface.
Surface is another one.
Yeah, if the card has like a full or a little.
Even there's print lines sometimes. There were some sets that were notoriously known for having print lines a certain year that they came out.
So this is a little related to that, but it's amazing to me that Panini or Topps or whoever just doesn't. They actually print cards and send them out that aren't tens, right?
Yeah.
It's amazing how they send out cards that aren't centered or have surface issues or are error card or print issues.
They do have quality control. I know they have QC people, quality control, check the cards, but I mean, just imagine if every card was perfect then there wouldn't be, we wouldn't have this episode that we don't need for grading.
I know, but you'd think that Panini would, make most of their cards 10s.
Yes, I know. They would at least give it more effort.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. So those are the things that you really need to investigate in your card to see if it'll earn that 10.
Sure.
Now, let's compare. Let's jump back to comparing PSA 9s to 10s and why you want that 10 and not that 9. Sounds good?
Let me take a shot and say,
Okay.
from what I remember, the spread between a 9 and a 10 is like half of the value, right?
So you think it's 50%?
So 50%, right? So if a card is a $1,000 for a 9, it's going to be like 500.
Okay, let's see. Oh, I have some auction comparison. Okay. So this one doesn't get into specific dollars, but it does get into percentages.
Okay, let's hear it.
So overall, ROI over time, return on investment, and this is a Luka Doncic Silver Prism. For a PSA 10, you can find that your value will increase 1,467%.
That's from going to raw to 10?
Over time. This is over time. If you have a 10 compared to having a 9. If you have a 9, 1,081% growth. If you have a raw, about 471%. So you can see that drop off there. Even between PSA 10 and PSA 9, right? There's about a 300% drop off. LeBron James rookie Chrome, PSA 10, it'll increase over time 1,322%.
You think it will increase that much, but you never know.
Yeah. PSA 9, around 750%. Now, this is interesting, though. Raw, higher, 1,200%. So, again, overall, PSA 10s will give you more return on your investment. PSA 9 then, followed by raw last. However, with that last example, you still can have quite a return on investment with even a raw card.
Yeah.
With the right raw card, though.
Sure, of course.
So, PSA 10, PSA 9, there's that gap. And unfortunately, as you've experienced on eBay, you've told me when you've searched for these cards that there's a huge gap between PSA 9 and 10s. And there really shouldn't be, because it's like, if you look at the card, it's probably a matter of just minuscule things.
I mean, I've looked at my PSA 9s that I've gotten, and it's like, I don't see anything. I don't see any error here. I don't understand why this got a 9 versus a 10.
Go ahead.
And I wish I could talk to the grader and be like, hey, why? There's no explanation for why. The cool part about Beckett is they tell you why.
Yes,
They graded it.
that's what I was going to say. They give you, they break down those criteria of centering, edging, surface, all that into the number for you, so that you can see how you got that overall grade for your card. PSA doesn't do that. SGC doesn't do that. I believe CGC does do that.
I think they do. Yeah, I think they do.
And I think HGA.
There just
might
needs
do
to be
that.
more transparency in grade, in how I got my grade, right? Or why I got my grade. How I got.
Yes.
Why I got my grade.
Yes.
And
But-
who's to say somebody wasn't having a bad day and they're like, oh, or they don't like the player. Maybe they're like, oh, I don't like this player. I'm just gonna get this card. You never know, man.
So it is, grading is not subjective.
That's totally subjective, dude.
The opposite. That's what I meant.
Grading is subjective, yes.
I agree. That could be a reason why people don't want to get their cards graded. I can understand that. But as we've been talking, I think there are more benefits than that outweigh the drawbacks of having your cards graded.
Yes. I would advise, if you have a very, very good card, maybe it's out of 25 of a rookie that's maybe up and coming, get it graded. I would say just get it graded.
What would you? What would?
Especially if you look at it and you think it's a 10. If you look at it and you know it's not gonna be a 10, right? You see the edges are a little messed up, maybe don't get it graded. Like, I have a few cards that I know if I sent those in, they would not be 10s, probably even not even 9s. So I'm
But
gonna keep them raw.
keep them wrong. With that said, why? I don't know. How am I going to ask this?
Just save me.
What do you, when you are deciding to grade, you have to take into account that you may not get your value back
Yeah, no doubt.
because obviously it costs money to grade your cards, and each company the price varies for each card. The service they provide you also varies. The amount of time it'll take for the grading process, the price also varies for that. So you have to take all those things into account when you decide to grade and who to grade with. So PSA, I think the reason why we didn't decide to grade with them when we sent our cards to SEC was price.
Price and turnaround. We
Turnaround.
wanted to know how our cards did really fast.
And I think we wanted to sell them too.
Yep, true that.
And we knew PSA would not give us that turnaround time. However, as she's now knowing more about the grading companies, doing our own research, talking to people in the hobby, we've learned that SGC, and as we talked about now, is not up there with PSA.
It doesn't resell as well as PSA. I have seen collectors say, "Oh, that's SGC graded. I'm not buying that." They only want
Straight up.
PSA. They only want PSA.
That sucks for the people who just don't not necessarily care about their grading company, but don't really have a preference.
That's more of an anomaly, right? These people who say, "I don't need want PSA." That's more rare than, as long as it's graded. I think most people would just say as long as it's graded.
But is that you? Is that you, viewers? Do you share that opinion too? Do you prefer a certain grading company over another? We
I
want to
think
know your thoughts on that too.
for me personally, if it's a 10 or a 9, I mean, of course, I'd like it to be PSA, but if it's a really, really cool card and it's SGC graded at 10, I'll buy it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I would agree with that, especially if it's for your own personal collection too.
Yep.
So HGA and Tag are, so I think they're two of the newer grading companies, but very interesting. The reason why I say that is because they happen to be two of the grading companies that I believe use AI to grade.
AI, scary word.
The objectivity versus subjectivity part of the grading just popped up with our conversation. So that leads us to thinking about the future of grading and AI being added to that. HGA, Tag have had that already. What do you think about using AI to grade your cards?
I think it's a good idea. And it would add more objectivity to the card grading rather than human subjectivity. But we also want some human element to grading, right?
Yeah.
I think the cool part with AI would be if you could use AI to scan your card raw to see if, hey, this will be a 10 probably. That would be ideal.
Oh yeah, that'd be quick turnaround. I mean, wouldn't have it slap
Well,
right there,
it wouldn't be a quicker turnaround. It would just be I'm sending you my card. Well, I guess you might be disappointed if you didn't get the 10,
yeah.
but maybe AI could say, there's a 90% chance that this card will get a 10, a 70%, 60% chance this card will get a 9, something like that. If they could, like, create some sort of standard.
Okay, so that leads me to ask: would you use, well, as a grading company? I don't know if you'd want to do that because then people wouldn't send in their cards.
Well, it'd still be officially, SGC graded. Or
Yeah, but they're
PSA.
like, oh, this is gonna get a 6. All right, I'm not gonna send it in. Whereas
Well,
if
they have companies, or they have companies that will do that for you. You send it to them first, and they'll tell you whether or not
it
they
should be
think
graded.
whether it's to be graded or not.
Okay, yeah, yes, yes, yes. But if you were to use AI to scan the card and it gave you like, hey, this will get either a 3 or a 4 or a 8 or a 9, I think a lot of people would say, okay, then I'm not going to waste my time and my money and grade it. I'll just sell it raw.
Well then, say needs to create that, and then you pay a smaller fee for that, and then if you realize it's going to be a 9 or 10, then you send it to me, and to PSA. So
Okay.
either way, PSA is making out like bandits.
Yeah, they are. They still are, either way. You're right. But I think also with AI, an advantage would be that there would be a uniform grading system. You wouldn't have to, like, we've watched a video on a hobbyist having the same card graded by all the different companies and seeing what the different grades would be, and they are not uniform at all.
No, there's tons of videos like that. Each company's like we talked about. Each company's standards are different. A PSA 10 should not be different than an SGC 10, but some people consider it to be that. Right. This is why they don't buy SGC. They think, oh, SGC standards are lower. I guess.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, it's so hard to get a PSA 10. It really is.
Now they're saying it's getting harder. Before they said it wasn't as hard.
It is amazing how many PSA 10s though you do see, like when I go on eBay or something, or go to a card shop.
Yeah, that's very true.
And how come, of course, we send our cards and we don't get 10s, even though we sent it in thinking it was a 10.
Yeah, I don't know. Have you viewers, hobbyists, anyone have that experience too? We definitely thought we had some 10s with SGC. Definitely did not come away with any 10s at all.
No, we only
None.
not even 9.5s.
I had a 9.5.
Oh, you did? Oh shoot, okay.
I do.
I only got 1 9. I got an 8, 8.5. Though I did send in some older cards that I probably didn't take care of the best when I was a little kid.
Yeah, yeah.
But the one that the recent one, that Wemby that I bought a Wemby nice rookie off of eBay. Thought it was a 10. I bought it raw, obviously, and then yeah, it was only a 9.
Oh, that's the game we play though. Then that's the risk you take, obvious, when you send your cards into grade.
Yeah, I lost money on a Tim Duncan, even though Tim Duncan doesn't sell that well, even though he's obviously a great player. Sent in a raw Tim Duncan, got it back a pretty low grade, so it's gonna sell for like $10, dude.
And you probably spent more money to send it in and get it graded
than what it's been
worth to sell for. Yeah. So again, that's the risk you take, hobbyists, just so you know, giving you kind of some more information on how you can make your informed decision on whether to grade or not your cards here. But we have definitely more that we could dive into. But I think that was a good start for us for this first episode related to our grading topic.
No doubt.
So I think we'll save the rest for another episode and we'll dive more into it and possibly talk more about which cards to grade, which cards to think about maybe not grading and hold off on. We'll kind of give you an idea of which grading company you should go with if you have certain goals for your cards when grading them. So stay tuned for a future episode, but thank you for continuing to watch our episodes. If you miss any other episodes, you can check them out on our YouTube here. Below, we have our YouTube channel. So please click subscribe. Please comment on anything you heard today. For example, again, that $12.9 million auction of that Kobe and Michael Jordan logo man 1-of-1 autograph. What do you think? Do you think that's too high? How do you think that affects the hobby? How do you think that affects other cards that we collect and sell? Also, while you're at it, check us out on Instagram at @thehobbybros_show. And we will see you in the next episode. And remember, keep the hobby alive.